NASCAR team owner Carl Long calls Noah Gragson over-entitled after Gragson took to TV and Twitter to criticize Long's team. Is Noah Gragson taking things too far? How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric and welcome to Out of the Groove. We've got a hot topic to discuss today. As I mentioned in last night's Cup Series post-race review, the Xfinity race on Saturday had more than enough drama to go around, most of it surrounding Noah Gragson. Not too surprising there. We're gonna talk about that late race incident that ended what seemed to be a surefire trip to victory lane for Noah Gragson. We'll talk about how Gragson handled things afterwards on TV, afterwards and up until this morning as of recently on Twitter, and we're gonna talk about team owner Carl Long's scathing response to Noah Gragson's antics. We'll talk all about that and more in today's episode, but first I want to talk about a kind of fun, silly video I saw that has some deeper potential meaning behind it. Daniel Suarez posted a cool video today of him bringing his Trackhouse race car to the Slam Academy, which is the school in Miami that was founded by Pitbull, of course, Trackhouse team owner, co-owner now, and he posted this sort of blooper-ish video. Check it out. I know you guys are staring at that quarter panel. We'll talk about it in a second, but first of all, you guys gotta pick up the tire chock, the wheel chocks. I mean, that could have been dangerous. You saw that stuff flying out of there. Guys, what are y'all doing? There are kids here. This is a school. Daniel Suarez and team not on their best behavior, it looks like, but a pretty fun video. We gotta talk about those quarter panel numbers because that's the deeper meaning potentially here. All the talk this past offseason was about NASCAR broaching the subject of moving the placement of the door numbers for years, pretty much forever. NASCAR door numbers have been largely centered on the left and right side driver's side doors. I mean, there's been some variations way back in the past, sure, but largely speaking, especially recently, center. Center has been the way to go. NASCAR, there have been reports that they're gonna slide the numbers back a little bit more towards the rear wheel, make some more room for sponsors. We've also heard some fans call for NASCAR to adopt the quarter panel numbers as you saw in that Trackhouse video. Is this sort of a sneak peek of what's potentially to come? What does Trackhouse know that we don't? Why would they just not put the 99 on the side of the car the way it looks on Sundays? Why would they move it to the quarter panel? I mean, I'll give them credit. The paint scheme looks pretty cool, and definitely by moving the number to the quarter panel, there's plenty of room on the door for that big Slam logo. I mean, it looks pretty good. But man, I'm not sure how I feel about quarter panel numbers. It doesn't look terrible here, but I'm not convinced other teams will be able to make it look this good. And I'm not even saying this looks good. It's okay. It's passable, I'd say. I don't know. I mean, these are all cosmetic things. We all have our opinions about door numbers. I like them the way they are. I could understand why the teams would want to move them, but boy, I don't love the idea. I'm not convinced every team would be able to make it look good. And even this one, which looks pretty good, I still don't like that the 99 is so much smaller than it usually is. The team numbers are the team logos. Keep them big, keep them prominent as much as possible. That's all I ask. I'm not sure about this, but anyway, fun little video there before we talk about the real drama. This episode is sponsored by Fram. We've got to start from the very beginning, or at least the end of Saturday's NASCAR Xfinity Series race. Noah Gragson had a 9.5 second lead in the closing laps, cruising to his first victory of the season, redemption for the two Homestead races last year he dominated but lost on late race restarts, until the number 13 Whataburger car driven by fellow Houstonian David Starr slid up the track right in front of Gragson, hit the outside wall. Gragson was committed to the outside lane. He piled into the back of Starr, just like you like it, ending Noah Gragson's bid for the win with just 3 laps to go. Quite possibly the most deflating way to lose a race. I will reiterate, he had a 9-second lead, and this happened with 3 laps to go. And of course, there was deeper significance to this race. Noah Gragson, all week leading up to the race, was talking about how he wanted redemption for the 2 Homestead races he lost last year because of late race restarts. His car was not good on the short runs. He led more than half the laps in those 2 races, but didn't come away with either trophy. So there was added significance. This had to be devastating for Noah Gragson fans and for Noah Gragson himself. Getting out of the car, you could tell he just had to walk things off. I felt bad for Noah Gragson. I mean, I was kind of rooting for him to win that race. He dominated the later portion of the race. I knew how much this track, winning at this track, means to him. So yeah, I was rooting for Noah Gragson, and to see that happen in such shocking fashion. I mean, you couldn't help but feel bad for him. I was perusing Twitter, and even Noah Gragson haters couldn't help but feel kind of bad for how that race ended up. Now, after getting out of the car and going through the infield care center stuff, FS1's Jamie Little caught up with Noah Gragson, and Gragson gave these remarks on national TV.
How do you comprehend what just happened when you were leading this race?
What are you gonna do? You got dip in the way every single week, but
Ooh, can we just get through one Noah Gragson interview without him swearing? I mean, I kind of like it, but at the same time, like, man, it's so predictable. But Noah Gragson, you heard the comments there, not directly calling out the 13 team or calling out David Starr, but calling out, you know, slower cars, broadly speaking. Now, in fairness to David Starr, he was running, I believe, 12th at the time. He was the last car on the lead lap, having a career day, one of the best performances in his racing career. While the wreck was obviously more devastating for Gragson, I mean, it was also disappointing for David Starr, who had a really solid day going beforehand. But Gragson uses very strong language there to condemn slow cars, broadly speaking. I mean, in fairness to him, there were a few cars that got in the way of the leaders late, like Jade Buford, I believe, in the 48, who I believe was making his first ever start on an oval, so, you know, credit to him, he hung in there pretty well, but he, like, took away second place Brett Moffitt's line, like, going into the corner, and Moffitt ended up scraping the wall and cut a tire down. You know, I can't blame Jay Buford for Moffitt getting into the wall, but certainly need to be more aware than he was, taking the second place car's line away, like when he's right behind you, closing in, bearing down on you. You shouldn't do that with a few laps to go. A more experienced driver would know to give the leaders a bit more space. But so I understand Gragson where he's coming from. We've had this debate many times in the past. Sometimes slow cars are in the way, sometimes they're not, and the fast cars are overreacting a little bit. But Noah Gragson uses strong language. Well, let's get that out of the way. He used some very strong language there, and not everyone liked it. Now, after the race, after he'd taken even more time to cool down, Gragson turned to our best friend Twitter. His first tweet of the night, he thanks everyone for the support and uses the hashtag #ShouldBe3, referring to the now 3 Homestead races in a row that he has dominated but failed to win. A short while later, he then tweeted, "Half throttle the last 20 laps and pulling away brutal. I love this track. Had at least another half a second a lap faster on me." So you can tell this race meant a lot to him. He's not able to let things go. And then he started replying to tweets, including one of my tweets that I tweeted right after his FS1 interview. This is what I had tweeted: "Love Noah, but the 13 was having a great race and just happened to blow a tire at the worst time. Not worth calling him a you-know-what after that incident. Completely get why he's upset, but it's hard to blame anyone." Later in the evening, Noah Gragson replied to me saying, "Didn't blow a tire." Implying maybe it was driver error that caused David Starr to slide up into the wall. Now, there have been photos circulating, and I'll show you a photo in just a moment that has since been revealed that shows the actual damage on the right front. But in fairness to Noah Gragson, no, David Starr did not actually blow a tire. If anything, the tire sort of shredded on entry into the corner. I'll go and show you the photo that the team posted later on. You can see the right front has completely corded. That is certainly going to affect a driver once he gets into the banking the way David Starr did. So that at least partially explains why he seemed to shoot straight up the racetrack suddenly when in the center of the corner. Later into the thread between me and Gragson, he explained what he believes happened to David Starr. He says that he got loose and slid up and pounded the wall. So Noah Gragson last night on Twitter was accusing David Starr of effectively running out of talent and just losing control of the car late in the race, and, you know, of course, taking out Noah Gragson. I don't think Gragson is implying that David Starr had something out for Noah Gragson, wanted to wreck Noah Gragson. I think he just is implying that David Starr isn't a good driver, is what it sounds like. I couldn't help myself yesterday afternoon. I posted this picture before the Cup Series race with my favorite race day meal from good old Whataburger. I probably shouldn't have done that, but Noah Gragson is cool. People were trying to make it out as though me and Noah Gragson have some sort of beef. Noah's a cool dude. I mean, he's an interesting dude, but he's been on the show a couple of times. He's been gracious with his time, and, you know, he reached out to me yesterday afternoon, actually, like, we're fine. I mean, not like me and Noah Gragson have any sort of meaningful beef to begin with. I mean, why would he really care what I'm saying? I know I certainly didn't take anything personally. I don't think he did either, so don't worry, guys. Me and Noah Gragson are perfectly fine. But while I don't hold anything against Noah Gragson for being passionate, being frustrated with how that race played out, looking for someone to blame, Carl Long, the owner of that 13 car that David Starr was driving, did seem to hold a bit of a grudge, especially after Gragson's comments on TV and, of course, Gragson's later tweets. So this morning, all the way we're talking about Monday now, or actually I apologize, this was late Sunday afternoon that Carl Long Motorsports posted this, the photo I just showed you of the damaged tire, but their statement: "This is the right front tire that came apart on David Starr while running 12th on the lead lap with a few laps remaining. The tread came apart as he dropped down to give Gragson the top lane. The car then slid up into the wall. Gragson made a statement that we are and did not belong on the track. Well, this over-entitled mouthpiece did not have enough talent to miss our wreck. We were happy to take home a top 12 finish that rolled right out of our hands just like the tire rubber rolled off of this tire. There are not many people left in this garage who have worked as hard and sacrificed as much as myself to get to this level. Statements like his could and usually does come back and cost him. Ooh, we got a threat from Carl Long. So Carl Long is not happy with Noah Gragson, and I completely see why. He basically called out, his driver for not having talent when obviously the evidence seems to say otherwise, seems to suggest that it was perhaps beyond David Starr's control. Noah Gragson did not stop. Yes, we are now roughly 2 days since the actual incident, but this morning, Noah Gragson tweeted this. Corded a right front in stage 1, by the way. I'm sorry, he's just trolling at this point. The dude just cannot let things go. So this is what I want to focus on here, because Noah Gragson, he drives for Dale Earnhardt Jr. He drives for one of the top NASCAR Xfinity Series teams. He's young. He has eyes set on racing in the NASCAR Cup Series one day. He has talent. He's won in trucks. He's won in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. So we're going to talk about Noah Gragson's personality and whether it's beneficial to his growing Cup Series career or if it is more detrimental than anything. Noah Gragson, he's young, but he has become one of the most divisive young personalities in the NASCAR garage across any of their series. He's emotional. He is 100% invested into what he is doing when it happens. He is the definition of someone who lives in the moment. I mean, he's been on this show and explained some of his philosophy, and it's different. He's come on this show and said that he loves eating, big greasy cheeseburgers because you never know, that could be your last meal, and you don't want your last meal to be something lame and bland. He's talked about how when he's racing, obviously the goal is to win the race, but another one of his deep personal goals is to put on a show. If he sees an opportunity to make a wow move, he's gonna try it because he wants to make a highlight reel. That's Noah Gragson's philosophy. He lives in the moment, and sometimes it pans out in his favor, other times it does not. But you cannot deny that Gragson wears his heart on his sleeve. I mean, everything he does is 100%. When he won in trucks for the first time, remember he threw up into the safer barrier on the front straightaway. When he won at Daytona last year in Xfinity, you remember the epic celebration, or celebrations, plural, that he put together, fanning the flames from the burned rubber and climbing the, he was everywhere. Absolutely in the moment. When he got into that fight with Harrison Burton last year, in the moment. Do you think he was thinking clearly? No, in the moment, he was mad at Harrison Burton and they threw down. Same thing goes for this weekend's race. He felt like he had that race won. By all accounts, he basically did. 9-second lead with 3 to go. But racing can be a cruel mistress sometimes, and by just the worst possible luck, he was taken out with 3 laps to go. So I understand him being emotional and frustrated in the moment. But at the same time, I think it's important to step back a little bit. Noah Gragson, to me, strikes me as the kind of guy who believes that any press is good press. There's no such thing as bad publicity, and if anyone knows me well, I often push back against that idea. And in this case specifically, to me, a young driver who's still trying to convince owners, sponsors, and fans that he has what it takes to be a contender in the NASCAR Cup Series for years to come, this seems like a risky play. He's got some skill, he's got some talent, but he still has ways to go to convince people that he has what it takes to be a force in the Cup Series one day. He's still got a lot of room to grow. It's okay to be a polarizing driver who occasionally rubs your competitors or rubs fans the wrong way. I mean, look in the NASCAR Cup Series today. Some of the most accomplished drivers have often been viewed as polarizing by fans. I mean, Kyle Busch is a great example. He's been the most polarizing driver in the Cup Series for years now, but hey, he's been winning races, he's won championships, he's got great sponsorship from Mars Candy Company, he's got basically a lifetime deal with JGR, it feels like. I mean, you could talk about Joey Logano. Fans and drivers have criticized him many times, but he's a champion. He's won dozens of races. He drives for Roger Penske. Brad Keselowski. Remember 5, 6, 7 years ago, it felt like Keselowski was getting into it with veterans every single week. Fans were questioning Brad Keselowski, but he's a champion, he's won races, and he's looking at a spicy new contract this year. I could go on, but as I mentioned there, the big difference between Brad Keselowski or Kyle Busch and Noah Gragson is that they have the talent to back it up. They're champions. They are many-time race winners. Noah Gragson has 2 career Xfinity wins. He still has ways to go to prove to us that he has what it takes to be, like I said earlier, a force in the NASCAR Cup Series. So if I could offer, my own humble advice to Noah Gragson, keep being yourself. Live in the moment and don't be afraid to occasionally ruffle some feathers. But once the moment has mostly passed, I don't think it's wise to keep poking the bear. Show some restraint and let your actions on the racetrack do most of the talking. Trolling on Twitter is a risky play when you're still trying to establish yourself as a serious contender seeking an opportunity in the top motorsport series in the United States. I love when drivers have a big personality, but Twitter is not always the most effective way to communicate that personality, in my opinion. But let me know what you guys think of all the drama Noah Gragson was involved with this weekend. Again, I felt terrible that he got wrecked out in this race, and I understood his frustration. Unfortunately, in that situation, it's really hard to be angry at anyone specifically. It really is just an unlucky, unfortunate circumstance, in my opinion. But of course, Noah Gragson is entitled to his own opinion. Carl Long is entitled to his, and you in the comments are entitled to yours. So leave a comment down below. That's all I've got. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. We talk NASCAR news, hot topics, rumors, predictions every single day, quite nearly. So I appreciate the support as always. Thank you to my amazing Patreon supporters as well. We'll be back tomorrow with another video. A lot to talk about now that we're 3 races into the season. There's some drivers in pretty deep holes, other drivers off to incredible starts. We'll talk about some of that and more tomorrow. Thanks for watching. I will see you soon.